Hey everyone, I'm TM Sparrow, writer and homeschooling mom, and today I'm going to share my thoughts on The Anatomy of Prose by Sacha Black. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you should know by now that I love learning about the craft of writing. I mean, that's why I started this series of videos where I review craft books and other writing tools. Today, I want to talk about a book that's actually fairly new. This is The Anatomy of Prose by Sacha Black. Now, if you don't know who that is, you should definitely look her up. Sacha is a British author and podcaster. Her Rebel Author podcast is full of great information, and you should definitely check it out. Sacha has a young adult fantasy series out, and The Anatomy of Prose is her third craft book. I'm going to start this review by telling you that this is actually the first one of Sacha's books that I've read, but it is now my intention to read the rest of her craft books, and I'll probably end up picking up her YA series as well. Obviously, I loved this book. One of the things that I loved most about this book was Sacha's voice. She writes in a conversational tone that makes me feel like she would be an awesome person to hang out with. A lot of the craft books I've read are a bit of a slog. It's like reading a textbook, and I was never a big fan of school. But this is not the case with The Anatomy of Prose. Reading this book feels a lot like you're sitting in a room with Sacha and having a conversation about how to make your writing sing. In fact, there were several times that I had to stop and read a section out loud to my husband because he wanted to know what I was laughing at. And that's the other thing about this book. I feel like I learned so much from reading it. It's been a long time since I went at a book with a highlighter and sticky notes. I'm glad I didn't put a sticky note on every page where I highlighted something, because then I would have a sticky note on almost every page. So I just highlighted the parts that jumped out at me and put sticky notes on the pages that I knew I would want to be able to reference quickly. Sacha packed so much information into this book. It's like a book TARDIS. It looks like it's a certain size, but it's so much bigger on the inside. Honestly, I'm probably going to read it again soon, just so that I can try to absorb more information. This is only the second book where I've actually gone back and done some of the exercises that are included. And let me tell you, they are really worth it. I feel like most people are going to learn a lot more by putting what they've just read into practice. The exercises that Sacha came up with for this book are excellent. They're fun and they pair perfectly with the information presented in each section. In fact, I enjoyed the exercises so much that I actually bought a copy of the workbook. Now, I haven't started on it yet, but I have looked through it, and I am super excited to get started with it. In fact, I will probably pair it with my reread of the book just to maximize my learning experience. Now, this is the part of the review where I would normally list some things that I didn't really like about the book. The problem with this book is that there wasn't anything that I didn't like. It's an easy read, and I agreed with everything that Sacha wrote. Very little of the advice is pedantic, and she often points out that every writer is different and has their own way of doing things. This book just gives you the tools to take your voice, your writing to the next level. Since I don't have anything to list that I didn't like, I will tell you my two favorite parts of this book. The first is technically 2 parts because the first 2 steps in the book are learning to sing and learning to learn. As I've said, I love learning, so naturally these 2 steps would be my favorite. Seriously though, I loved what Sacha had to say about learning how to improve your writing and about reading intentionally. Intentional reading is actually something I hadn't really thought a lot about, and I am super excited because that's a concept that I can carry over into homeschooling. It is going to be a really useful tool to teach to Ava. For anyone who doesn't know, intentional reading is about reading purposefully and consciously with the intention of reading to improve your writing. Let me share one of my favorite quotes from the book with you. This is on page 16, right at the end of the summary of step 1. The best way to develop a voice is to continue to write and read. Sorry, no easy wins here. Just hard work, a lot of words, and ass in the chair time needed. Intentionally study the craft, read consciously, try to understand how authors have created the things they have and the techniques they've used. And you can tell it's my favorite because I highlighted it and then I even wrote yes right here. This is something I actually talk about a lot on my channel. In fact, 2 of my 3 hard and fast rules for being a writer are that you have to read and you have to write. Seeing another author, and a successful one at that, put that into writing was majorly validating for me. There's even a list of book recommendations at the end that is categorized by the things that you can learn from them, and I love that. I'm actually already reading one of the books from that list. My second favorite part is actually the last section. This is step 12, Literary Holy Grails. In this section, Sacha gives us a sampling of the tools that writers can use to really make their writing shine. She talks about metaphors and similes, alliteration, breaking the fourth wall, juxtaposition, sentence length, chapter length, and so much more. Some of the things that she talks about I was already familiar with, but there were other things that I had never even considered, like using the white space on the page. So, to sum it all up, The Anatomy of Prose is my new favorite craft book, and I think that pretty much every author would benefit from reading it. If you're interested in learning more about Sacha and her books and podcasts, then make sure to check out the links in the description below. Also, if you have a book that you would like me to read and review, then you can let me know in the comments. Or, as always, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. And if you want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos on Sundays. See you next time. Blinded by the light, wrapped up like a vision in the middle of the night. Please don't sue me. Hey everyone, I'm TM Sparrow, writer and homeschooling noob. Bleh. This is The Anatomy of Prose by Sacha Black. Bleh. Today, bleh. Okay, and none of that was actually what I have written in my script. Blah. And I dropped the script! Way to go! I am just on top of things tonight. Don't have boobs. They're not worth it. That is a really great out of context quote. I should put that on a mug. Obviously, I loved this book. Really? I said do not disturb you. Reading this book, bleh. I feel like I learned so much just from this. Bleh. It's been a long time. Oh my god. Bleh. Because there are. Bleh. And my brain said, that's what he said. And then my brain went, ugh. The exercises, 10-10 would recommend. It's an easy read, and and there's even a list at the end of the book. And there's even a list of recommended. Okay, I don't say blah blah blah. Hashtag married life. In this section, Sacha gives us a bleh. If you're interested in learning more about Sacha Black, bleh.